Welcome back to another episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Austin Long, here with our forecaster, Daniel Weaver. And Daniel, is it looking to be dry this weekend as we've seen it here lately?
Well, yes, Austin. A nice dry stretch will continue throughout the weekend, though we might be broken next week. But this weekend looks beautiful, dry, maybe just some clouds, but it will be mostly dry this weekend.
Oh, good. I love to hear that. We'll hear from Daniel in a little bit, but first we're going to take a look at our nature in the news.
Shortly after Hurricane Francine made landfall along the U.S. Gulf Coast, a new storm formed halfway around the world. Typhoon Babinka is the 13th named storm of the season to form west of the international date line. Having formed back on the 10th, Babinka was on a direct path making a beeline straight towards Shanghai, China. About 400,000 people were evacuated as a precaution, according to local officials. Babinka made landfall back on Monday, the 16th. 60 kilometers southeast of the city of Shanghai. The storm has sustained winds of 85 miles an hour, the equivalent of a Category 1 hurricane upon landfall in Shanghai province. Babinka is the strongest typhoon to hit the city of Shanghai since Typhoon Gloria 75 years ago in 1949. Despite its strength, only 2 deaths have been attributed to Babinka in China, where 2 people were electrocuted after being hit by a falling power line.
A survey at one of the biggest UK research universities finds that staff often end up flying to meetings despite a preference to avoid air travel. An overwhelming majority of survey respondents at a top research university agree that air travel contributes to climate change, but many professors and PhD students who are a part of this survey often fly to conferences anyway. Flying is one of the most emissions-intensive activities that people do. It's responsible for almost 4% of the human-generated global warming so far and about 45% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Participants were not asked to explain why they fly, but the running theory is the fear of missing out. This is leading to the call for meetings to be held virtually or hybrid. Even having multi-hub meetings accessible by train would decrease their carbon footprint. The hard part becomes the requirements for professorship and having to travel extensively and internationally just to be recognized. Doing these alternatives would significantly help in decreasing the amount of greenhouse gas emissions from flying. The alternatives could also make networking opportunities more inclusive, especially for researchers with limited funds or those who are caregivers.
The European windstorm season of 2024 to 2025 is officially underway, and it's coming in with a bang. Storm Boris has been designated on September 11th by the Servizio Meteorologico dell'America Militare, or the Italian equivalent of the National Weather Service. It is the second storm to be designated by that weather office this season, which began back on August 28. Boris has caused significant floods to Central and Eastern Europe, including the countries of Poland, Romania, and the Czech Republic. Around 20 people have died from floods caused by Storm Boris, and another 250,000 have lost power. Just like hurricanes, European government weather offices name a storm that they think will be impacting life and property. But unlike hurricanes, there is not a strict criteria that a storm has to reach to be named. That means that it is up to the weather offices of each country whether they think a storm is severe enough to be named.
The first ever commercial spacewalk just took place along with other milestone achievements. Polaris Dawn, the private SpaceX mission currently orbiting Earth, has set several records since its launch on September 10th. The spacecraft reached an altitude of about 870 miles, which is the highest orbit above Earth achieved by a crewed spacecraft. It's also the farthest humans have traveled from Earth since NASA's Apollo missions during the late 60s and early 70s. 2 members of its crew, Jared Isaacman and Sarah Gillis, completed the first ever commercial spacewalk at a peak altitude of more than 435 miles. More opportunities to run experiments in microgravity will present themselves, along with improvements in human space travel. In 2022, Isaacman proposed that NASA should use a SpaceX crew to reboost the Hubble Space Telescope into a higher orbit to extend its lifetime. The telescope has been in space for 34 years and will gradually descend until it burns up in Earth's atmosphere. NASA has unfortunately turned down the idea, but with the continuing efforts in sending crewed spacecraft to collect data on how the body handles spaceflight, Isaacman's idea could one day become a reality.
Time for your weekend forecast, and our dry stretch will continue throughout the weekend, but we might see some return to rain next week. But to start things off on your Friday, when you're finishing work, you're finishing school, and you're ready to start your nice weekend, hopefully, if you're lucky, it's a long weekend. Well, Friday looks pretty nice out there. Mostly sunny skies towards the west. But if you look over here towards the east, we have this area of low pressure that was actually what used to be potential tropical cyclone 8. Now it's just an extra tropical cyclone, and it's pretty stubborn too. It doesn't really want to move anywhere. But it'll bring the clouds towards the eastern portion of the state and most of New England as well. Maybe a few rain showers across the Boston, Rhode Island, Connecticut area. Might be a little wet there. On Saturday, those showers continue for those folks in New England, but for us in Pennsylvania, we are staying mostly dry. May see a little increase in the cloud cover, but it will be dry for the Penn State football game against Kent State. Just don't forget your sunscreen, though, because it will be pretty sunny, though if you're unlucky, a few clouds might streak in there to help block out the sun and protect you from getting sunburned. And on Sunday, we'll keep the sunshine around too. Maybe a few little increase in clouds though as our next storm system is approaching from the west. We actually have an area of low pressure all the way up in Canada that you can't really see on this map. And this low over here is finally moving out of the region. It is finally getting pushed out. This high pressure down to the south is slowly moving away too. And that's why we're seeing an increase in clouds. But the Sunday will remain dry throughout the day. So that brings us back to our forecast for Friday, 79 degrees, partly cloudy skies, and then Friday night, the clouds stick around it as well with a low of 56 degrees. And then on Saturday, the clouds might decrease a little bit, but they'll still be in the sky, so we'll crank up those temperatures just a smidge with a high of 78 degrees. Don't forget that sunscreen if you are going to the football game. And then on Saturday night, the clouds will increase a little bit as our next storm system approaches in from the west. Their temperatures won't really change much, though, from where they were Friday night into Saturday morning with the low of 56. And then on Sunday, we are forecasting a high of 72 degrees, a little cooler with partly cloudy skies. And now, here's a feature from Pham on fall foliage.
Fall foliage here in State College has started to peep out with leaves turning yellow and trees losing their leaves. With it only being mid-September though, it's a little early for these vibrant fall colors to start showing. Fall colors normally begin popping out at late September into early October after the fall equinox, which falls on September 22nd this year. A combination of several factors help promote the change in leaf color, including the loss of sunlight, precipitation amounts through the late summer and early fall, and the overall temperature pattern around this time of year. This year, the rain deficit and cooler than average temperatures in September have led to an early fall scenery. To put some numbers into perspective, Walker Building at Penn State University has recorded less than half an inch of rain as of September 17th, with 13 out of those 17 days being completely dry. Thanks to high pressure and control, sunny weather has dominated much of the first half of September. As for the rest of the summer, June and July both finished with 1.25 to 1.5 inches of a rainfall deficit. August made up for it though with a surplus of 2.77 inches of rain, much of which came from the remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie. Tropical systems, especially around early September during the climatological peak of tropical activity, can bring beneficial rainfall to the Commonwealth. Since the tropics have been so quiet lately, Pennsylvania hasn't seen the opportunities for tropical systems to bring moisture and rainfall towards the region. Now, without such rainfall, we usually see fall colors appear quicker. Lack of rainfall has a couple effects on trees and plants. Droughts can cause stress of trees, resulting in them to want to store more energy sooner for the winter earlier on, so they shed their leaves early. Less water also means photosynthesis cannot be carried out. Photosynthesis requires three ingredients: water, carbon dioxide, and the sun. Without water, trees cannot convert carbon dioxide into glucose or oxygen. This results in less chlorophyll to be produced, and chlorophyll is what makes the leaves look green. As a result, earlier fall color is achieved. September has also wound up being cooler than average so far. Several days have ended up more than 8 degrees below average. Thanks to what we call radiational cooling, a process where the ground cools very efficiently from clear skies and light winds, some nights dropped all the way into the upper 40s, temperatures we usually see in early October. For comparison, the average low temperature for early September is in the mid to upper 50s. High temperatures weren't all that cold from what we normally see, though. Peak daytime temperatures during most days in early September were close to average in the 70s because the overall weather pattern supported mostly sunny conditions, so the ground heated up very efficiently during the day. Thus, the cooler nights in September helped offset the month to be colder than average so far, which has helped advance the leaf color a tad earlier than usual. As for the quality of color, it does not look to be poor. The repetition of cool nights and warm sunny days is also helping the fall colors be more vibrant. During the warm daytime, significant amounts of sugars are produced through photosynthesis, but at night, cooler, crisp conditions help constrict the veins in the leaves, preventing the sugars from leaving the leaf. So with the combination of both sunshine and lots of sugar, the production of pigments responsible for creating fall colors go into overdrive, and vibrant fall colors are released. Last year, brilliant fall colors came out, and this year should see more of the same with the overall weather pattern like last year. Fall colors will continue to unravel across Pennsylvania, and especially here in Center County, very, very rapidly. Fall colors will be near the peak by late September, and peak fall color is expected to arrive sometime in early to mid-October. Regardless of the slightly delayed timing this year, beautiful colors will be in store. For Whether or Not, I'm Brendan Pham.
Time for your extended forecast, and for once we've actually got some much needed rain on the way. That is coming midweek. But before we get to next week, we gotta get through a nice, beautiful weekend. Partly cloudy skies throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All 3 weekend days, we'll see partly cloudy skies. Those clouds are a little bit stubborn, and that's because we are stuck between 2 different storm systems. So those clouds don't really have anywhere to go. Where on Friday, we'll see at a high of 79 degrees, and we'll drop that down by 1 degree on Saturday with a high of 78, and that is actually 10 degrees above our average high, which is about 69, 70 degrees. And then on Sunday, we'll drop back down closer to average with a high of 72 degrees and the low of 58, and the clouds will actually increase a bit on Sunday too, as our next storm system moves in, and the clouds will continue to increase on Monday as well. And then our next storm system finally comes in on Tuesday, finally bringing in some much-needed rain. And then Wednesday, though, that's really the wet day. The rain on Tuesday, that's just going to be a few scattered showers, mainly in the afternoon and evening. The real rain comes on Wednesday, and then that system, as quickly as it moves in, it will quickly move out. And on Thursday and Friday, we are saying that mostly cloudy skies, so the clouds still stick around. They are still stubborn, but the rain is out. And speaking of rain, Austin, that reminds me, don't we have a weather whiz quiz question about the rain?
That we do. It's not really about the rain, but it's more about the dryness, especially this September. We're thinking about what year was the dry September on record in State College? Is it A, 1914, B, 1932, C, 1984, or D, 2024? And if you said A, 1914, you would be correct. 2024, put that on there because it's been a very dry September this year, and we've only recorded just under half an inch of precip so far.
Yeah, well, half an inch, how about I half that to only a quarter of an inch? That was what they recorded back in 1914, and that was the whole month of September. We still got a week or 2 of September left, so we still got a lot of time to bring that precip total up, and that we definitely do need that rain, as some areas to the south and west of Pennsylvania, especially West Virginia, are in severe drought.
Yeah, very much needed rain indeed. Thank you for watching this episode of Whether or Not. Stick around next week for a brand new episode.